Today, I'm going to name one mistake that could be fixed for 45 brawlers, rounding out all 87 brawlers including part 1. Some of these you may already know or may seem obvious, but hopefully I teach something new to you with at least one of these brawlers. If you enjoy this video or learn something from it, don't hesitate to like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends so they can stop being bad randoms. Also, join our Discord server for a chance to win Pop Penny through our Gauntlet feature, or just for fun. If you haven't seen part 1, you should definitely check it out before watching this. In that video, I left off on Pearl, and the next brawler after Pearl is Larry and Lori. One major mistake people make while playing the twins is that they waste Lori and use him on a battleground for him to be immediately shredded. Instead, when you use your super, move up the map alongside Lori, similar to Nita, and don't just use him as fodder. Next up is Angelo, and one mistake people make while playing with him is misusing his charge attack. If the opponent is at low health, there is no reason to charge up your attack fully, as you might miss out on the kill or even get killed yourself. Instead, just charge up your attack lightly or don't charge it up at all, and kill your enemy much faster. Barry is up next, and this is a quick one. People using Barry to control areas and not heal teammates. Sure, controlling is well and good with Barry, but first and foremost, you should be healing your teammates and making sure they stay alive. Shade is up next, and one mistake people make when playing Shade is misusing his super. Shade's super is mainly for getting a speed boost and staying inside of walls to avoid enemies. I've seen a lot of people who merely use his super for the speed boost, and are still able to be targeted and killed by shots. Instead, actually take advantage of the purpose of the super, which is staying inside of walls, so try and stay inside of them to remain invulnerable. Our first mythic brawler, and it's everyone's favorite or least favorite, Mortis. One major mistake people make with Mortis is not taking stock of 1. Your ammo, 2. Your gadget status, and 3. If you are close to hypercharge or super. People often just go in and attack people when they're nowhere close to their super and have just used their gadget and are at low health. Instead, attack strategically and based on your opponent, only attacking someone like a Daryl when you have full ammo, a gadget ready to go, as well as a super and or hypercharge. Tara is next, and one major mistake people make with her is wasting her gadget usage. Her gadget is one of the most powerful in the game, and so each use of it should be with a good reason. There's no reason to use it when you're facing someone that can deal splash damage, and you don't have to use it every single time you move up the map. Instead, just use it to either check out bushes or as a way to push up against single shot brawlers, or something else that has a good reasoning behind it. Gene next, and one major mistake people make with him is pulling the wrong brawler. Don't pull in their hypercharged Shelly, or their Tick with 1 health remaining. Pull someone valuable like a Piper who has been cooking you the entire game, but doesn't have your super, or generally someone who, 1. You can get the guaranteed kill on, and 2. It would be difficult to get the kill on without the pull. Mr. P is up next, and this is a quick one. People misusing his super. Unless necessary, you should always place Mr. P's super in a place that's not too far outside of the action so the porter doesn't have too far to travel, but should be in a place that is well protected and would be a danger for anyone to try in destroying the turret. Max is next, and one mistake people make with playing her is that they don't super the entire team and just themselves. Sometimes this might be the best move, but it's very rare for that to be the case, and you can lose out on a lot of extra movement for your team. Sprout is next, and one mistake people make while playing it is that they often place down supers that are detrimental to the team. Sprout's super should be a wall between Sprout and the enemies, and unless you are trying to save your teammates from the enemies, your supers shouldn't be anywhere near your team, and can often impede in their movement and even stop a potential kill from happening. Lou is next, and one mistake people make while playing him is using his super as an assassination tool and not a tool for control. Sure, combined with his cryo super gadget, you basically have a free kill most of the time, but you only have 4 uses of it with the gadget gear. And the value gained from placing super is more based on controlling areas and pushing enemies back, even if there's no one on the initial super, is very good, and most likely better in the long run than the seemingly free kill from the cryo super gadget. Byron is next, and this one is going to be very quick and obvious. Just heal your teammates when they need it. Yes, Byron is an incredible marksman, and you can 9 out of 10 times get away with him purely as a marksman with no healing. But he is labeled as a support for a reason, so there's really no reason to not heal your teammates when they need it. Ruffs is up next, and this is another obvious one. Your super should mainly be for support, not offense. Use it on your teammates to give them the stat buffs instead of throwing it to the enemies to try and get a little bit of damage that, let's be real, won't be happening. Next up is Ruffs' favorite blob, Squeak. I'm going to be completely honest, I'm stumped for this, and so I'm just going to say something random here. If you have something better, please put it in the comments section. One basic mistake people make with Squeak is playing too aggressively. People often get carried away with trying to attack the enemy that they don't realize they are playing a dangerous game and are far inside the enemy territory. With no reliable anti-aggro tools, Squeak is pretty much cooked against aggressive brawlers, so make sure you are playing passively against aggro brawlers and aren't too aggressive. The better Buzz is up next, and one mistake people make while playing him is that they use his super right once he gets it. This is similar to Daryl, in that these guys have powerful supers, but they can easily be wasted with an ill-timed super, like supering a tank at full health, or someone else that has their team right next to them to support them. Fang is next, and one mistake people make while playing him is that they don't consider the full chain of his super. It may seem good to super a low health Dynamite, but once you realize that you will then chain onto a Shelly with her super, you should realize that your life is worth more than the Dynamite, and you really shouldn't make that trade, so keep your super. Eve is up next, and one mistake people make with her is misplacing her hypercharged super. With it, you need to keep a balance between a spot that isn't going to be too easily accessible to the enemies, while not being too far from those same enemies. The nature of Eve's babies is that they lose health passively, so you have to make sure you get use out of them by putting them at least somewhat close to the enemy, but you also have to make sure to keep them alive in order to maximize the number of babies that are alive. Janet is up next, and one mistake people make when playing her is not understanding how to end her super. Janet isn't great at close range, so ending your super being too aggressive and right next to enemies will more times than not be detrimental for you. Instead, understand when your super is about to end and get back to safety, especially if you're at low health. Otis is next, and one mistake people make with him is, you guessed it, misusing his super. Otis's super is one of the best in the game, so you have to make sure you get value out of it. Don't use it on an enemy that you know you will get a kill on, and instead, use it on someone who's been a potential threat for the most of the game and is at high health. Also, don't use the super at a longer range, as you really want to make sure you hit the super, as it's very important and potentially game changing. Buster is now, and one mistake that's made with him is not letting go of his super even when he's getting damaged from another side. Buster's shield is very good, but it has a drawback, which Buster can't attack while the shield is up. So if someone is able to start attacking you from the sides, let the super go and just defend yourself instead of keeping the super up. Gray is up next, and one mistake people make with him is continually using his super even when there is an established teleport for him and his team that's useful. This is very map dependent, but there are some maps where just one super for the entire game is good enough, and allows for the full team to be a threat. However, if Gray continually uses his super, it will disrupt the synergy of the team, and they will have to find other, longer ways to get to the desired location. RT is up next, and one major mistake people make with him is using his super in a dangerous location. Unless you are basically guaranteed a kill or behind a wall, there's almost no reason to use your super, as it makes you extremely vulnerable. and you either are forced to become tensai with dodges, or are forced to stick right next to your other form for the entire time. Next is Willow, and one major mistake people make with her is supering enemies that are low health or are about to be killed. This is literally trolling your teammates, so just don't do this. Read the situation and only super enemies that are an actual threat to your team, and please don't help the enemies by leading them to safety. Next up is Doug, and one mistake people make with him is hogging his super for just himself. Yes, I know, helping out teammates couldn't be me, but for real, sometimes it's just better to use your super on a teammate that needs it, rather than just wasting it on yourself. Chuck is next, and one mistake people make with him is taking too long to set up his pose. Without his pose set up quickly, Chuck can quickly make the game a burden for your team, and make it feel like a 2v3, so make sure you don't spend too long in creating the perfect setup. Charlie is up next, and one mistake people make with Charlie is getting too close to the cocoon when it's about to burst. Charlie's cocoon isn't an automatic kill, so you still have to be wary of the enemy when they come out, and if you get too close to someone like a Shelley with a super, even using your spiders won't stop you from meeting up with 1629. Mico is up next, and one mistake I see with him is not conserving his ammo properly. The number of ammo he has is extremely important to know for him, and ignoring that can lead to not being able to escape from a fight, not having enough damage to kill an enemy, or not being able to get close enough to damage the enemy. Melodie is up next, and this is game mode specific. Melodie is getting stuck in defense when in heist. A little bit of defense can't hurt anybody, but with Melodie it definitely can. Her damage output to the safe is extremely valuable, so unless it's extremely necessary, she should not be defending, and her teammates should either be supporting her or doing the defense themselves. Lily is up next, and one mistake people make with her is wasting her gadget uses. Unfortunately, she relies a lot on her Shadow Realm gadget, so recklessly using it just to end up in the same place as you were before, or something similarly useless, is just not it. Make sure you have a plan each time you use the Shadow Realm gadget and make use out of it. Clancy is next, and one mistake people make with him is not being aggro at the beginning of the game. Clancy's next stages are extremely crucial for him to actually be a threat to the enemy, so sometimes you just have to risk your life in order to get to higher stages, or in other words, risk it for the biscuit. Mo is up next, and one mistake people make with him is staying in his super form for too long. To be honest, right after you get the kill on the enemy, you should definitely turn back to your regular form, as the range is so laughably small that you can't really do anything in the form, and you're just dead weight. Juju now, and one mistake people make while playing her is moving between environments when attacking. This will cause the attack effect to change, so always make sure you stay in the same environment when attacking, or at least be aware of the change in the environment. Our first legendary brawler is Spike, and one mistake made with him is relying too much on his curveball star power. Sure, it can be difficult to dodge for newer players, but people at higher skill levels have already figured out his secret, so the other star power is often better against people who have figured curveball out. Next is Crow, and one mistake people make with him is being too aggressive. Crow is at his best and most annoying when he's slowly dealing chip damage and wearing the enemy out, not by going in, even with his super, unless it's a guaranteed kill. Leon is up next, and one mistake people make with him is selecting his clone projector gadget. Let's be real, anyone over the age of 10 knows which one is the clone and which one is real. Other than a body block, it's pretty useless, so just use the other one. Sandy is next, and one mistake people make with him is using his gadget too early. If you use his gadget on someone at full health, it's literally a waste, because you could have just used a main attack and basically nothing would change. Instead, use it when you want to either save a goal, escape an enemy, or use it on someone who's actually low health and you can get the kill on. Surge is up next, and one mistake people make with him is using his super on an enemy all the time. If you're at low health and you use your super on an enemy who's basically at full health, the knockback won't save you, and you will likely die and waste your upgrade. Instead, don't be afraid to super backwards in order to save yourself, even at the cost of no knockback and no damage. Amber next, and one major mistake people make with her is immediately setting her super on fire after placing it. It can be an effective method of control if you just let it stay on the ground for a while, and only set it on fire either once it's no longer useful and you want to cover another area, or if an enemy is well inside the super area. Meg is up next, and one major mistake people make with her is being too aggro with her mecha form. Sure, she has 2 lives, but still, you don't want to consistently be in a regular form, and it's extremely weak and a liability for your team if you run in that form too much. Chester's next, and one mistake people make with him is getting rid of his first 2 bell sets. It's just a waste of ammo to get rid of them, and it honestly limits you somewhat, as you are now forced to play less aggressively, as you have to now try to get very close to an enemy in order to get value out of the 3rd and 4th bell set, instead of already damaging the opponent from a distance with your 1st and 2nd bell set. Cordelius is up next, and one mistake people make with him is not knowing when to take people to the Shadow Realm. If you are facing a 2v1 on defense in Brawl Ball, and you Shadow Realm one of the opponents, you are giving the other a free ticket to scoring a goal because you were also in the Shadow Realm, and you can't defend. Instead, wait until your teammates respawn, and then bring one of them to the Shadow Realm and finish the job. Second best, least favorite feline is next, and one extremely major mistake people make when playing him is playing him in Heist. Okay, that was a joke, but for real, one big mistake people make while playing him is always supering on an enemy brawler. There's no reason to super on an enemy when all of their teammates are there ready to protect them. Sometimes it's just better to actually support your teammates for once and just jump on them. Next up is Draco, and one mistake people make while playing him is using his invulnerability gadget when they are not at low health. If you're not at low health, there's no reason to panic and use the gadget, as it'll probably run out before you die, and then you'll actually die due to not having the gadget. Instead, use it only when you know you are about to die and are at low health to get the most value out of it. Kenji is up next, and one mistake people make with him is using his super on a singular enemy and not enemies that are grouped up. The chance you'll hit the singular enemy is much lower than hitting multiple enemies, and you can get more value and healing from hitting multiple enemies as well, overall just making it much better. Finally, last but least, Buzz Lightyear. One mistake people make with Buzz Lightyear is playing him. Overall, I know there are a lot of obvious mistakes in here you probably already know, but I hope I can at least stop a few of the bad randoms that still make these mistakes from doing them again. And a big thank you to Bronze, Blazier, and Angel for helping me with a few of these tips. Anyway, thanks for watching. Watch this video, or this playlist, or join the Discord server.